went to the same school, grade school, like up from 1 to 8. And they lived only 1.5 miles from our place, the same district, the same. Yeah. Anna always was together with his sisters, like Anna and Liz. No, Liz was younger, but Anna, yeah. Yeah, we started dating in fall, when in the 1942 or 43, he went to help harvest in Austin, McGregor area. And there the guys were all at war, and then they asked the Mennonite boys to come and help harvest. And he went, and I think he was there for 6 weeks or so. And then we had never dated, but he bought a wristwatch from me, and I was not so sure about that, just like that. But that was his nature. Just in his mind, he had it clear that I would marry him. I was not so sure about that. So then all winter, I guess I didn't think of that, or I thought of it, but then towards spring or sometime then I realized, yes, I would. And then we dated that summer, and then in September we had married.
So a year after your wristwatch.
Yeah, about yeah. But it was a popular thing to give a wristwatch to your girlfriend. It seemed like in Canada there would be this consolidated schools, and we as Christians, we were afraid consolidated schools would be too, children would be so involved with worldly things. So that was the reason. It was the schools. The reason we moved to Mexico was of school. Yeah. There was Klaus and Martha, your mom, and Norma and Florence were born in Mexico. Yeah, they have dual citizenship. Yes, we had a garden. Sometimes it was a bit too dry, but one year we got very many, very beautiful tomatoes. We came from Mexico in 1955. Florence was 2 months old. Florence was a little baby. I guess lots of people started moving back, and even like we sort of just went because my parents went and they paid the visa bill, whatever we need to immigration papers, and so they wanted us to come. Walter and Alma too, and then there was a couple of other young couples that moved back, and Grandpa wasn't too interested in moving to Mexico either, so we were also on the way back. We lived in a little chicken coop in Grandpa's parents' yard that spring, that summer and winter. Then we moved to we rented a house, a big house, where we lived then for, I don't know exactly, about 4 years or 3 or 4 years. And then we bought land in Riverton, which was a new settlement. A lot of people came from Morris and Rosenort areas. And, yeah. Uh, 1959 in January, cold, no, it was a warmer day, and Grandpa had built the shell of the house some weeks before, and then Mr. Thiessen, he was always a very willing helper. He decided that we sure would be coming that day because it was a warm January day. So he quickly went to our place and put in the insulation. It was just a plywood walls, but then he put at least the insulation on the walls so that it would be a little warmer. We had a 1-ton truck and a car, and we loaded all our possessions, as far as I remember, loaded them onto the children and the possessions that we had, and off we went to Riverton. From Bloemen, I guess, maybe you should say just from Bloemenhof, is not from Steinbeck maybe, huh? Or Steinbeck area. I would clap the little girl's hand, bake, or wherever with every grandchild I would do it. Bake, Kuchen, de Bäcker hat geruchen, wer will haben gute Kuchen, der muss haben 7 Sachen. In Schmalz, Butter und Salz, Safran macht den Kuchen gel. Sheep in den Ofen. And I would hold the grandchild's hand and clap them. Then if I did sheep in an oven, then I'd tickle them with it. Bake Kuchen means bake cookies. And then all the ingredients, there's 7 ingredients. It's Bake Kuchen. The baker has, you see smoke coming from the baker's oven. The Bäcker hat geruchen, that means you see smoke coming. And now you have to have 7 ingredients: salt and butter and 7
flour and sugar and
Eggs
eggs and lard.
and lard, yeah.
And saffron.
That's some kind of yellow coloring. Saffron macht den Kuchen gel. That means saffron makes the cookies yellow. And then they're ready to sheep and the sheep. That's just what you would
Just shove them into the oven.
Yeah.